You get an AI, you get an AI, you get an AI. All your favorite apps are getting AI, and is that a good thing? Unless you've been under a rock for the last 3 months on the internet, you probably cannot ignore the fact that artificial intelligence is taking over the world, or at least the internet and all the apps that you love and use on a daily basis. And we couldn't be more excited, honestly. As we've watched this kind of big revolution of artificial intelligence happening in 2023, end of 2022, 2023, we wanted to get as close to all that's going on as physically possible, which means we're playing with AI, we're trying to build things with AI, we're testing out every app that has AI, we're on every waiting list for every new thing that's coming out with AI, and it's honestly pretty exciting. A little bit different than last year when we were talking about Web3, crypto, blockchain, and everything else, which still has a place in the world, but I feel like this AI movement, people are getting it a little bit better than they got the whole blockchain thing. I want to take a quick moment today to talk through where is AI being used and why is every single app seem like they're just putting AI in place. Now, first off, OpenAI was the kind of this big movement over the last several years of an organization coming together say we're going to make a really well-built, really thought through artificial intelligence. And they've been working on it behind the scenes for quite some time actually now. But early in 2020, they were working on this thing called ChatGPT. It didn't really become live, and don't quote me on those dates, that's what I understand is when they were working on, because they could have been working on it like back in the 60s, I don't know. 2022 in November is when it became live to the public. And the crazy thing is that it broke records for the fastest growing anything online by getting to 100 million users. 100 million users. I can't wrap my head around that in 2 months. That's wild. Like no other social media platform has ever done anything like that. It just was massive growth because it captured people of going, is this it? Is this when the internet becomes sentient? Larissa, does it know?
It's here.
It's here, right? And we knew that they were putting in safety guards and they were trying to figure out let's just see what happens. They were burning cash to make it work every single day. And we've been following that for a while. But the big breakthrough is when they opened up their API to the rest of the market and said, hey, you can have access to this technology on your own app or on your own platform or on your own tool, or you can build things on top of it, or you can integrate it with the stuff that you already have. And the world of technology lost its mind. Larissa, have you played with AI?
I have.
Yeah. What's your take?
I really like it. I like what I've used it for. I've used it to help me make outlines for videos, and so far.
Don't lie. You wrote a sitcom in it.
Yeah, I wrote a sitcom.
Okay, yeah, right. So we're all playing right now. This is a time of adventuring in, getting close to it, testing its limits, seeing what it's capable of doing. And for most of us, that's just going to, OpenAI's ChatGPT 3 website.
Are you pronouncing it ChatGPT?
Am I saying it wrong? Have I been saying it wrong this whole video? ChatGPT. GPT.
I think you've been saying
GTP?
It's so easy.
I'm just gonna call myself out here. I may have, through this entire video, been saying ChatGTP. And that is because GTP and GPT are basically the same, but not. And they kind of roll off the tongue the same way. So my apologies, I do know what I'm talking about. As of the last 48 hours, ChatGPT 4, a multimodal, even smarter, more robust, and more advanced version has come out. We're not gonna talk too much about that, except that assume that everything we mentioned today is basically gonna be the same, but on crack with ChatGPT 4, and assume there's a 5, a 6, a 7, and coming in the future. And ChatGPT and OpenAI are not the only ones doing this. That obviously was a huge investment from Microsoft to integrate it with Bing and other Microsoft Office tools, but also we're seeing now it's a rat race. It's a really big competition to see which tech company gets to having their AI beat out the other AI with either being more user-friendly or more ethical or more interesting or more powerful or more power efficient. All these things are super important as you see Google come to the table, as you're seeing Microsoft come to the table, as you're seeing Amazon come to the table, all talking about how my AI is the best. It's kind of a mess.
It reminds me of like Alexa versus Google, like
assistant.
home. Yeah, Google. Yeah, the assistant war.
Yeah, Siri, Alexa,
Google.
It is like that. Although I don't know that I've seen this much hype since maybe like the Web 2.0 days, when everybody was like, I'm launching a new Uber for this, or we're doing a gig economy thing for that. Like, it's definitely at that level of energy of everyone jumping on this bandwagon and creating something. And we've seen, golly, thousands of companies created in the course of 45 days, 60 days, 90 days to jump on this bandwagon of artificial intelligence. I don't want to take too much time to unpack the entire ecosystem. What I really want to talk about is the fact that here at Crema, we use and love lots of tools. We're always trying the newest thing out, right? And so that usually means that we're trying tools that help us to run our company better, or to design products better, or to communicate better as a team. All of those tools are adding mostly OpenAI as a layer on top of those tools. So let's jump in and talk about some of the ones that we're really excited to see what they're pulling off. Why are they doing it? And do we like it? Okay. First off, Notion. Okay, if you don't know what Notion is basically a knowledge-based tool. It's a text editor, but also more than that, it's got databases built in, and you can do these block editing. Honestly, there's a little bit of learning curve if you haven't been in Notion before. I'd love to make more videos about Notion because we switched all of our documentation and knowledge base at Crema over to Notion last year, and it took some work, but it really is cool if you give it time to get used to it. But they immediately said, hey, we have a platform that is based off of text, and there's blank pages, and people don't know what to do with those pages, so why don't we put AI in place? So I wanted to take a look real quick to see how they did that. I was on the wait list, and it is open now, I think, for most teams to get to it. Larissa, you have access now, right?
If I copy what you did, yep, I do have access.
Yeah, cool. So for a while, it was just like the folks that are on the beta wait list, but now it looks like it's completely open. But if I get into this and look to show you what you can do, right now, it is out of the box just on your screen. You don't have a choice to kind of turn it on or off. It seems like it's just baked into how Notion thinks about its pages, its document, its content. But for almost all these tools, it's gonna have something similar, which is you need a prompt to say, I want to call for that AI. I want to call for OpenAI, for the ChatGPT, to do a little conversation with me. You could still write on this page just like you normally would. And I think Google's coming out with their own version of this with Google Office, that's Microsoft Office. Google Pages, Sheets, Slides, Gmail, all of that. That's coming with Google, but I haven't quite seen it in my Google instance yet. So as we look at Notion, you'll see here that just says press space for AI or slash for commands. Now slash was already how you called up any type of Notion command. That's pretty common if you're using things like Slack, Notion. If you're in a code editor, a lot of times slash would be a way to get to a command list of options of things you can do. But in this case, I'm just gonna push space, and immediately you see that it brings up a bar, it says, ask AI to write anything. Now, I could do the same thing that I might do with ChatGPT, but I love the fact that they added this like drawer below, which is, again, how do we remove that barrier to entry for understanding how AI works? They're giving you some suggested prompts that help you to understand what you could do with it. So they have things like brainstorm ideas, write a blog post, an outline, social media post, a press release. So they're these types of information that really is just like, it starts it. So we'll do some brainstorm ideas. So then it's like brainstorm ideas on, and then you need to finish that statement. So brainstorm ideas on content for people that like to fish. I don't love to fish, so this is like really fun to kind of see where it will go. The last time I fished, I think I was 12, but we're gonna push return. And immediately you see that it starts writing out bullet points of ideas. Now, most of this is probably based off the ChatGPT 3, and the ChatGPT 4 is gonna get even more advanced and more sophisticated in the recommendations it has for this. Because it was asking for ideas, it put it in bullet points. If you asked it for a story, it would write out paragraphs. If you asked it for tasks, it would actually use the little task feature inside of Notion. So it gives you the chance after it's created this content to go, what do you want to do with this? Do you like this content? Do you want to confirm that it's ready? So you can click done, and then basically the content just is there on the page. Or you can say continue writing. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that just to show you. It'll keep going. And you can say keep going and keep going and keep going. And honestly, at a certain point, it kind of gives out. It's like, I'm just guessing at this point. I don't have any more to give you. You can make it longer, you can try again, you can start over. So there's definitely this prompts, and I like that Notion included the commands. They included ways for you to understand that you're interacting with a piece of software feature inside of Notion. And I think they did that pretty well, in my opinion. So that's an example of it just writing out, these tasks. But if you wanted to, you could actually have it write out even more. Like I said, stories. I'm gonna stop, so we're gonna do escape. Somehow I just told it to keep going. It went off. Here are some additional ideas for content that people who like to fish might enjoy. Create a blog post, tips and tricks about fishing. Produce a video series, organize fishing tournament. These are all, really obvious answers. But what we found is that the way that we use this, or the way that I've been using this, is not necessarily to write the content for us, though I do know that a lot of people online are doing that. And actually it's kind of getting annoying because you can tell. But what we use it is for sourcing ideas. So we might have 3 to 5 ideas in our brain, but maybe we can get some more, and that might just kind of jog us to think about other directions we could take our content, or a project that we're working on, or content, or ideas that we're exploring. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and take and delete this, but I'm going to grab all this text from this transcription of a conversation I had. And this is a really good example of seeing the power of how it can help you to deal with content you already have. So not generating content, but like cleaning up content that you already have. So this might be an email that you're writing. It might be a script that you have, and you want it to kind of help you to kind of refine the language on it. But in this case, I'm going to paste this in, and this is all of the transcription of this long conversation. At the bottom of this, I'm going to use the space and say summarize basically this page, summarize this document. This document is a transcript of a meeting describing various business opportunities, including a potential AI project for disrupting commercial furniture buying process, an audit of a company's data management or product strategy. So you can see how it took that whole conversation and put it into 3 sentences because it understands what was being talked about above. So I think Notion has done a really, really, really great job of integrating that in. And I think we're gonna see a lot of echoes as we go through the other apps of a similar type approach, that when you have a blank page that you don't know what to put on that blank page, it will help you put something on that blank page. Or let's say you have some content that you're already working with and you want to clean it up. Like you said, Larissa, change the tone of it, or maybe make it shorter or longer. That is a way that you can highlight this, and it can help you to process through that language. Next, I'm gonna go in the order of the apps that we use the most here around Crema, and that is, the second one is Miro. Now, we don't actually have access to the Miro beta yet, because it just came out a few days ago, but we are definitely on the wait list, so if Miro's watching this and we haven't gotten it by the time this publishes, let us have it. Different people are calling it different things. So Miro AI, they're going with I appreciate that. Just call it what it is. It's you using AI. Well, further on, you'll get to people that are naming it. I'm not sure that's absolutely necessary, but they're definitely talking about this will supercharge your idea generation. And with Miro's a place that you can put sticky notes out, you can collaborate, you can brainstorm together, you can get organized together. And I think that this is a great tool to say I want to unpack that idea a little bit further. Miro AI helped me to expand on what this idea could turn into. Now you can keep it or leave it. You don't have to use these things. So I love when you're using the kind of brain mapping feature in Miro, how you can say, take this one branch, go do more with it. So agile practices, generate an AI. So you see the mind map just go crazy. And then Miro A, go further into sprint planning. Now the crazy part is that I've made that exact map for Crema, for our clients, for content 100 times. And it's not new content, it's known content. The world knows that these are pretty standard practices, but it's hard to remember all of them. And to have AI help you to get that information, pull it back, it's pretty cool. Also here, you're seeing the same summarized content that's on the view. So you'll be able to select a large piece of content, or maybe lots of sticky notes, and say summarize this into kind of one synopsis for what's happening on my canvas. And then finally, we haven't talked about this, but ChatGPT, it can write code. Code is writing code, which is awesome and exciting, especially if you know how to use it as a tool. And I think you're gonna start to see even Miro say, how can I put code blocks into the view? Because ChatGPT can already do that. And if we're using those features, well, I can copy and paste that into Miro and see that out on the view. Finally, the last thing, and we haven't talked about it too much, is generative art or generative images. I think that's actually the experiment that we ran in-house, is how to generate imagery that has never existed before using AI, and OpenAI has some solutions for that. I think we made a previous video about DALL-E, right? And it's the same technology powering this, and it's getting smarter and better, more accurate, more higher fidelity. So I think you're gonna see Miro, which has a place to have both text and images, giving you options to be able to generate that and put it right on the view. So very similar to Notion, but a little more in the Miro world, right? Because you can move things around. And I'm excited to see how this expands. My hope is that it doesn't make Miro too messy, right? Because I could see this becoming like, ooh, we let AI take over and it's just like all the stuff. We still have to ingest this. This still has to be information that we can pull back in and make sense of. Use it sparingly. Somebody that didn't decide to just call it AI is Intercom. So for those that don't know, Intercom is it's actually kind of a pretty robust tool now. When it first came out, it was really like those chat boxes that you see on your app or on a web page that you can chat with somebody there. And they had the ability to put some kind of standard chat bot type features in. So if somebody says this type of word, respond with this type of thing and direct them to this piece of content. Well, now with ChatGPT and a large language learning model, you can basically say like, oh, we can have a conversation. And this conversation can be, I would assume, crafted around what is specific to your app, your environment, the stuff on your page. Again, we don't have access to this yet, but in theory, it is going to do the exact same thing, which is we've got text, we have a conversation back and forth, but instead of chatting with pre-programmed bots, you're going to be chatting with something that can have a little bit more of a natural conversation, right in a little chat box that pops up that nobody really wants, but when you need it, it's kind of nice. I don't know if Larissa, do you ever do that? Like where you're like, that little thing pops up and you're like, go away. Yeah. But then when you need it, it's like, I'm glad you're there.
Yeah.
What can you do for me? So I asked it a question that wasn't one of their prompts. I'm gonna see what it does, because they suggested, can you change the date of my reservation? What is the cancellation policy? Where are my check-in instructions? These are all feature functionalities that Intercom has built in. It said, can you tell me what you need help with? It wants something specific. I asked it, what can you do for me? Okay, so I used one of its suggested prompts, which was, what's the cancellation policy? And of course, there's a little AI badge here, and then it says, answer. If you cancel your reservation, the next payment cannot be completed by the due date. And it goes on to explain more, and then a link to that reference. That still to me feels like pretty canned content, but it might be that they're allowing you to have a larger library of content that could respond with, and as long as you ask the right questions, it'll go fetch that content for you. I would give it like a B or C at this point, because I think it has some room to grow, but I know that they're trying to tailor it. And I think this is going to be really hard for clients to figure out. If you don't just want an open writing platform like Notion and Miro have, which is like there's no rules, right? You could brainstorm about anything. You could write about anything inside of Notion or Miro. Something that is very specific to you having a chatbot on your site that's about a specific purpose now means you have to tailor that chatbot to not go off and talk about fishing, right? If you're a site for motorcycles. So I think the tailoring of the content down and actually kind of getting the AI to not talk about other things it's interested in, that will have to be some guardrails that you put in around it. The next one I want to talk about is Slack. Now, Slack, again, is one of the tools that we probably use almost the most as our communication tool in-house. Microsoft is definitely doing this with Microsoft Teams because they actually invested and I don't think they bought them. They invested in billions of dollars into OpenAI and ChatGPT. You're seeing that then show up in places like Bing and Microsoft Word, Microsoft 365, which includes Microsoft Teams. But Slack is also going to be adding almost this exact same feature that we're talking about, which is that ability to see your conversation be informed. Again, anywhere where there's a text in and text out, you might as well put an AI layer in between so that you can make your text sound better, sound more professional, sound maybe softer, more kind when you're frustrated, or maybe funnier when you're trying to be humorous or you're trying to bring up the light in the mood. Or it might be, I need to respond to this. Help me to figure out the best way to respond to this, and it'll prompt conversations, which then is going to make me wonder if I'm actually talking to anybody anymore. Finally, we want to talk about one called Grammarly. So I've taken advantage of Grammarly for a long time because I'll be honest, I'm kind of terrible at spelling and grammar. That wasn't I can design things, but writing things not so much. So Grammarly's been a huge tool for me for a long time. Been using it off and on for years, and it has already done some of the things that we're seeing ChatGPT 3 or these integrations of OpenAI into apps do already, which is help me with misspellings, grammar, tone of voice, kind of assessing the content. Now, as they're adding OpenAI in, again, I don't have access to this, but we're on the wait list. As they're adding OpenAI in, you're seeing it do exactly what we talked about on the other apps like Notion, Miro, and anything that has kind of an open document format. I am a little curious to see how this will play out because will I really need this integrated into my Google Docs or my Gmail or my Notion where I have Grammarly running now if the ChatGPT integration is already built into those apps and is doing it pretty well? Well, I need Grammarly. So this might be a threat for Grammarly. I'm not exactly sure. But for those apps that don't have it, you can have it installed on your browser. It's just an extension. And it's doing the exact same thing that we've seen other apps do, which is you can give it a prompt very clearly. I need to write about something, or this is something I need some content about. Or you can have it imagine certain things. So go in and say, help me to improve this language, help me to create a new piece of content, help me to think about making this better. It does a good job of using the same little prompts that a lot of the other tools have, so it's not just purely a chat box input, that we're actually guiding a person towards it. But actually, I'm pretty excited about this. I know I'll use it, at least until I get access to the Google environments using theirs. But I am kind of curious to see, will Google be as good as ChatGPT? I know that's the race right now, but if not, I can always use Grammarly on top of my Google Sheets and Pages and Slides and Gmail for now. So Grammarly, well done. So like I said, when we started the video, everybody's getting AI. Everybody's getting AI. So we're gonna see it in Duolingo, which is the language learning tool. By the way, I'm on a 97 streak for Latin. No, why would I need to learn Latin? I'm learning Latin for Italian. I really want to go to Italy. I'm not sure that I actually speak Italian any better. I should have just done Spanish. Duolingo's bringing in Duolingo Max. They couldn't call it AI, they're calling it Max, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to do different except that you'll be able to do conversational learning. So I think that actually really could be very powerful if you get to the point where it could correct you and you can have conversations with it. I think that'd be a fun way to learn language. Others are Instacart, helping you to make sure that you're actually thinking more robust about what you could have in your cart, and for them, drive up some sales. Shopify, same thing, is how can you make sure that people understand what they might be looking for, how to find it, what's the best deals, what's the best options. Canva, we use Canva off and on for our thumbnails or for different, like just turn and burn pieces of content or art. What's the word I'm working with? Designs. Layouts. We have designers on staff, and because we use Figma for most things, Canva isn't really a tool we use too much, but occasionally we use it, and they're doing the same thing where you can have it kind of like auto-write slides that you put for social media posts or auto-generate art that you would use for those slides. So those that don't have designers on staff, is a really powerful tool to really make your social media post and content much faster, and you're seeing people like set up automations with Zapier, so like an AI written article comes into Canva and it breaks it into posts and slides and then exports straight out and goes into your social media post manager, and it all goes out in the world, which means that we're all just consuming AI content. Finally, Bing, which we've talked about several times, but Bing is definitely the biggest player right now, which actually has put Bing back on the map. When's the last time anyone used Bing unless their corporate environment forced them to? But now people are trying it out again, and I'll be honest, the UI is pretty cool. Man, it actually looks pretty good. But there has been some really interesting conversations that people have had with the Bing bot. So you should go Google that, because I don't want to talk about it right now. It makes me uncomfortable. Definitely look at Bing. They've invested a ton into ChatGPT. Now I can't even say it right. ChatGPT. Yes, I know what it is. Finally, there's one that I'm very excited about, but I really haven't even gotten close to getting my hands on it. We design apps. We design and build apps for startups all the way through to massive global enterprises. And one of the big things that we've always said is that even if AI can help us to write code, the creative spirit will always be the differentiator of someone needing to design the screens. well, a couple apps, including some plugins on top of Figma, and a new startup, I think it is, coming called Galileo.ai, is pretty incredible, at least with the little demo that is on their website. So again, you can give it a prompt. So for example, they're saying a settings page for users to add their name, phone number, and password. It takes a few seconds, generates that screen, and on that screen, this is an editable Figma document. I don't know that this will be how I'd want to see all of our designs take shape. This is definitely using kind of like out-of-the-box design libraries, and there's been tools like this that have tried to do things like this before. UI Wizard is doing this as well, and a few others. But I think it's gonna be a great tool, again, to unlock that blank piece of paper, paralyzing effect of saying, what do I want to do to get started? So I'm really excited to get my hands on this one. Again, I'm on the wait list. I'm hoping to get the email soon so that we can get in and give it a try to see how we might use it on our own projects. So why is this what everybody's talking about right now? Well, first off, it is pretty revolutionary that we have an AI that's very accessible, very easy to integrate, and actually makes sense. It feels natural. And I think from the past, whenever you've seen AI, it's been about dealing with large sets of data, maybe making decisions around robotics, self-driving, or maybe logistical data information, decision-making stuff. This becomes more about how humans interact, which is language. So I think that's why one reason. The big reasons that I really think it's getting integrated into every technology piece is that the tech scene has gotten insanely crowded with SaaS tools, platforms, social media tools, etc., and they have to stay relevant. So this is the novel, new, relevant, hot thing. And if they don't put it in place, it's really easy to see your user base jump ship and go to another tool because there's lots of options in the market. So you almost have to put it in place to be relevant anymore. So it's that huge fear of missing out, and they can do it. I think that they're also wanting to stay close to the AI craze. We know this is where technology is going. We're seeing it happen, obviously at a rapid pace right now. And so they need to stay close to it so they can keep up with it so they're not behind. So companies that are coming out today that aren't AI focused still need to have a layer of AI just to be relevant as they keep up with the market and keep being able to provide value. I think actually it's going to make it a little bit of the barrier to entry harder for new startups to get into the space, unless they're of course using AI to help them write those startups. I think number 4 is for a lot of these tools, they have what I have referred to as before as an unopinionated way of using them. So there are tools like Jira or workflow tools that have a very opinionated way about the way that they're supposed to be used. You need to do this and do it in this way, and you'll get this outcome, this result, this value. Well, tools like Notion, Miro, Word document editors, Slides, Excel, Google Sheets, these are all open-ended. We're giving you a canvas to do something with, but if you don't know where to start, or you don't know how to expand on this, then oftentimes you can get to a point where you're like, I'm stuck. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to see people get unstuck, keep their ideas moving forward quickly, and get past that paralyzing blank sheet of paper moment. My hope is that it unlocks them to be more creative in and of themselves, and that they don't just bank on AI to create everything for them, but it prompts them to move forward with their own creativity. And then finally, I actually think that OpenAI has done a really good job with their API, making it relatively easy to integrate this quickly. This is the reason we've seen in the last, 6 weeks, everyone add it to their platform. My guess is that some of them had early access, so they've been working on it for a little while. But even with that, the number of startups coming into the scene, the number of people building on top of this, the number of people putting this into play, you know that all hands are on deck to move their focus into this area to make sure that us too, you get an AI, we're all getting it. And so I think that they've made it as easy as possible to integrate it in, and of course keep it upgraded as it learns and gets better. So we want to know from you, what do you think? Should every tool on the face of the earth have an AI interface? I mean, so far I've been really impressed, but I think that we're going to see it hit its limits. The novelty is going to wear off, and we'll get back to just using it as a tool. Because that's what it is. It's a tool. Very advanced, very interesting, very creative, and somewhat scary tool. But I'm sure people said that about the printing press and the tractor and the refrigerator and the internet and the computer. and eyeglasses. Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow and subscribe. Follow and subscribe, that's the same thing. Make sure you subscribe and like to get more from us as we explore AI, product, UX, and even more as we think about how design and technology can help your organizations change and move forward. This has all been a real person speaking. I am not AI.